Okay, I realize this subject has obviously already been done hundreds of times by people who can explain it much more ideally than I can. But, as Mr. Yeats once said, think like a wise man, but communicate in the language of the people. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Also, I think that if I try to direct this towards all theists, I probably won't get a very strong response, so I'm going to direct this video specifically at one person. That's ZCooker88. So listen carefully, Mr. Z. Cooker 88. I'm going to try to explain this as simply as possible. So here goes. Using logic and science, I can prove that God does not exist. I'm going to break this down really easily. I'm going to go word by word. First word we're going to look at is the word logic. As you, Mr. Z. Cooker 88, explained very well in one of your videos, there are three laws of logic. The first one is the law of identity, the second one is the law of non-contradiction, and the third one is the law of excluded middle. Good job in researching that. Okay, the law of identity says P is P. For argument's sake, we're going to translate that and say God is God. Okay. Second, the law of non-contradiction. For our argument's sake, we're going to take the phrase God exists and the phrase God does not exist. The law of non-contradiction says that both of those phrases cannot be true at the same time. So either God exists or God does not exist. The third law is the law of excluded middle, which states that God either exists or he does not exist. There's no middle ground that says God kind of exists. Okay, those are the three laws of logic. Okay, what this means is that logic states that either God does not exist or he does exist. Period. Okay. Next up, the word God. Okay, God is defined by Webster as a noun. It is the supernatural being conceived as the perfect and omnipotent and omniscient originator and ruler of the universe, the object of worship in monotheistic religions. If you're a Christian, whether it be a creationist or a normal Christian, you probably agree God is the creator of man, the creator of life, and has omnipotent power over the earth. If your definition of God includes any of those things, then your God can be proven wrong, whatever religion you may be. Okay, next up is the word proof. The definition of proof is a noun, evidence or argument establishing or helping to establish a fact or the truth of a statement. All right, despite what most theists use as an argument, absolute 100% proof for or against God simply will never exist. There are two kinds of proof, absolute proof and evidence proof, which is the proof as defined earlier, which is proof through evidence or argument. This is the proof that we use in our court systems. It's the proof that we rely on in all sciences, and this proof is fallible, meaning it's not perfect. Okay. For example, no matter what you do, you cannot prove 100% absolutely that in this very split second that you're watching and listening to me speak, there's not a magic, invisible 300-pound gorilla standing behind you. You can prove this through evidence. All we have to prove that there is not a 300-pound invisible gorilla standing behind you right now is evidence. There's no 100% proof of that. Okay. The second kind of proof, absolute proof, or 100% proof, only exists in logic, like mathematics, which is a form of logic. Here's a mathematical proof I'm going to put up on the screen. The theorem is there is no largest prime number, and this before you is the mathematical proof. Okay, that's the other definition of proof. Because we're talking about God, as defined earlier, an actual being that created the physical world, and that is not a form of math or logic, we will use evidential proof, not absolute proof, to prove that God either does exist or does not exist. Final word, science. I'm going to give you an introduction to science. A good system we use that we've used for quite a while, many Christians have used this same method, is the scientific method. This is what we use in science to prove things. It's a very effective method. Through it, we've invented airplanes, we've invented cars, we've used it to turn trees into paper and print Bibles on. you're using a tool that was discovered using the scientific method right now, your computer. So here's how the method works. First, you write a hypothesis, which is a big word for a prediction. An example: I hypothesize that I inherited my blue eyes from my distant cousin Thomas. The next step is you test your hypothesis. Okay, I tested my hypothesis, and it turns out that Thomas and all of his close relatives have brown eyes. So I guess my hypothesis is going to just remain that. It's just going to remain a hypothesis. It will never go on to the final stage of the scientific method. Only when a hypothesis is tested thoroughly and proven with evidence to be true will it move on to the next step in the scientific method, the theory. Interestingly, this is where all of man's great revelations stay, because, as said before, nothing besides logic can be proven absolutely. So this is why we have things such as sex theory, the theory that animals procreate through the act of sexual intercourse; gravity theory, the theory that there is a force which pulls us downward toward the center of the planet; plate tectonics theory, round earth theory. I'm sure that whether you're a theist or an atheist, you can agree that the earth is not flat, it is spherical. Okay, I hope so at least. Evolution theory came into existence using the same method, and it has been proven in the same manner which we can prove that the earth is round. Another scientific theory that contradicts God as defined is abiogenesis. Abiogenesis is a very complicated theory that explains the origination of life on Earth. It was about 4.4 billion years ago. I'm not going to try to explain abiogenesis because I'd probably lose you in the process, but if you're interested, please investigate. There are plenty of videos on it on YouTube. God, as defined, is said to have created man from dirt and women from man's rib. Also to have created life on Earth. This hypothesis will always remain a hypothesis. It will never become a theory, partly because it can't even be tested, and partly because there's absolutely no evidence to suggest that claim. So to sum all that up, proving God's existence is impossible using the scientific method. In conclusion, the laws of logic state either God created man or he did not. Science says he did not. Logic states that either God created life on Earth or he did not. Science says he did not. The laws of non-contradiction state that free will and fate cannot simultaneously exist. Therefore, the previously defined God is proven to be non-existent in the form which we define it. Also, therefore, logic and science prove that God does not exist. Thank you very much for watching, and have a very nice day.